Hi grade 5s, welcome to our music composition lesson, Appreciating Nature. Here's the breakdown of our lesson. First, we're going to look at our learning goals and talk about what we want to achieve by the end of this lesson. Then we'll move on to a warm-up activity to get us started. We'll move on to our main activity, the active learning portion. We'll then talk about our assessment and how we will gauge our success. And then we will wrap up our lesson to reflect on what we've learned today.
For this lesson, we will need paper and our journals, as well as some writing utensils. We will use the computer and projector with speakers, and we will look at the water song video and lyrics.
Okay, so by the end of the lesson, students will be able to use elements of music to create their own compositions, reflect on the sounds that they hear around them, and relate that to music. Create a piece of music to express appreciation for nature and the earth. And then finally, to explain how appreciation can be tied to activism. So to accomplish this, we're going to start out by going outside. So for this activity, we're all going to go outside, and we're going to take a moment to listen to the sounds that we hear in nature. So maybe you hear some birds, maybe you hear the wind, maybe something to do with the water. We're just going to take a second and listen to it. And then after that, we're going to all pick something that we hear outside and try to recreate it with our voices and body percussion. So for example, maybe you hear the wind and you could go, or if you can whistle, even better. And then maybe you want to do something with rain. Let's say it's raining. Then you can do all sort of tapping. And we'll spend some time just making music outside.
Does everyone remember our lesson on the water song when we talked about how music can be used as activism? Let's try and use that same mindset in this lesson. What are some elements of nature that we can appreciate? Let's all put together a list and think about why these elements are important to human life. I'm going to divide you into groups of 4 to 5, and I want you to pick an element of nature from the list that we made in the previous activity. In your groups, you're then going to make an 8-bar musical composition. You can use your voice, body percussion such as clapping or snapping, found percussion around the room if you want to grab a book or something, and you're going to do this to show your appreciation for that element of nature. When everyone is finished with their musical composition, we'll present them to the class. I'll be showing you an example on the next slide. Be sure to think about our elements of music, such as dynamics, timbre, duration, and pitch. Let's do it!
Awesome work, everyone. Your participation with our class today has been wonderful, and I have made note of everyone's contributions today. Now, we are going to finish our lesson by completing a journal to reflect on everything we have learned about appreciating nature through our music compositions. So, take out your music reflection journals and answer the following questions. Why is your nature element important to human life? So, for example, thinking back to the water song, we know that we need clean water to drink to survive and use in our daily lives. Second, let's answer the question, how does your musical composition demonstrate an appreciation for this element of nature? And make sure your response includes an explanation on why the elements of music you chose to use, such as the dynamics, timbre, duration, or pitch, was effective in showing this appreciation. Again, when we look back to the water song, the song is sang to sound like a lullaby and appreciate Mother Earth. And the lyrics reflect this, but also the timbre and duration throughout the song were used to do this as well. And lastly, reflect on why showing an appreciation for the elements of nature is important for environmental activism. For example, the water song brings awareness to the fact that water is being endangered by humans because of pollution and climate change, inspiring us to recognize the importance of water and try to protect this element of nature. So now, take this time to reflect in your journal on these questions.
Here are some accommodations and modifications the teacher might want to consider. If there are students with motor, speech, or hearing impairments, these students may choose to either only create actions and percussions or only make sounds vocally, depending on their abilities. The teacher can have examples ready for both warm-up and main activities if students are struggling to understand the instructions. They can also use visuals during the warm-up activity so they can bring pictures of different elements of nature outside with them for visual learners. During the active learning portion, the teacher may want to play the water song as a refresher, and the teacher should make accommodations based on student IEPs. Everyone is sounding great. Thank you so much for participating in our music composition lesson.